Now, I want to switch subjects to the main thing here that we
All
all
right,
want to hear about, which
let's
is
do it.
Retreats Alaska, right? And
Yeah.
I could sit here and go back and forth because I experienced it. And I'm the kind of like a fanboy of all this, into the wild, go reconnect. But I want you to pitch me if I were a city slicker, which I sort of am, but I'm a really weird one that just loves to get out in nature. But
Uh-huh.
if I were a city slicker, because I actually had this on a recent podcast again, where someone's like, "Oh, I saw you, doing all. I've never survived that for an hour, and that's just not me at all." And it's like, that's bullshit. Like, you're human. You want to connect with nature too. We all do. But sell me, like, why should I go if I am looking possibly to do that? Why should I go on Retreats Alaska with you guys?
Hmm. Well, from a city slicker perspective, our retreats really are a fully immersive Alaskan mind, body, soul experience. So last year we focused on just having the backcountry retreats, which is what you experienced, the backpacking, but with a guide in a safe environment. We have safety as our number one kind of safety is very vital for us to have. But this year we also included some not quite so heavy on the backpacking retreats. And so we also have some retreats that we're hosting at lodges, also still in the Alaskan wilderness, where you have to get on a boat into the Katchmek Bay, cross the bay and onto a private island. And you stay in this beautiful space. And we have luxury to glamping options for folks to stay in. So you're still really getting the Alaskan experience in that. But what people will really experience on our retreats is that self-discovery. That's like the main theme of our retreats. Regardless of what activities we're doing. So like on our backcountry retreats, we offer guided hikes and excursions on pack rafts and things like that. And this year, our all-inclusive chalet retreat is, we are going to focus on sound healing and yoga. And then we have our mindful running retreat, which is also hosted as an all-inclusive, but we're going to take people out into the alpine areas and run. And okay, let me reframe that. Ben and other guide will take people into those alpine areas. Well, I'll be back with the chalet and not running. I am not a runner. My body has not decided to run yet. But yeah, it's really a space that people can come out of their everyday life, like exit the rat race of New York City or Chicago, and come into this environment where you are safe, you're supported both emotionally and physically. We have things in place to keep everybody safe, and allow yourself some time and space to breathe, to reconnect to nature, to connect to yourself, and to connect to this really intimate group of people that you will grow to be like your best friends by the time the 4 or 5 days are over.
And I could vouch
And
for that. I could definitely vouch for that because you go into it, right? You go into this retreat, and I've been on many of these kind of retreats, you should call them, like, you just go to another country, you do some backpack and they drive you around, like you visit and then you go. And maybe you make some friends and everything like that. But here you're bearing your soul a little bit. And through that, you're healing with others that are strangers that you go into it. I remember, listen, I'm an INFJ too. I have huge trepidations about opening up around strangers, even though I'm much more open than others. But, I went into it being like, all right, let me give this a chance. But there was a little bit of discomfort, I guess, in saying, all right, let me open up and start talking about problems and these things. But I have to say, I think it's the setting. If that were like, the basement of a church and you're just going to a group therapy session, the donuts are out, like, yeah, you share, you bear all and everything, you go through those sessions. But being in this amazing setting, you have a glacier in the background, right? You're outside. It's just nature is there, the sun, whatever it is. It just, it kind of moves you to be there, to really be your authentic self. And there were things that I practice all these different spiritual practice, and I preach this, and it's all about holistic living and everything. Like that even opened me up. So I think it's the combination of the setting, of course, in nature, the people there, the administrator, like you guys, the supporters, that just kind of it changes flow. I have to say, it was just unique in that way, and it was very eye-opening in that way. So I, when people ask me, it's like, why go to Alaska to do that when I could do that from my living room and just pop on some, DVD or something, or people don't use DVDs anymore, but Netflix or something like that, and watch like a inspirational thing and feel that. It's like, no, you don't get it. You could read a book about Alaska. That ain't the same thing as going to Alaska, being out in the wilderness, going through it all, like taking that boat ride over. I even remember that. And like the boat ride over is like, you're going to an island, you're going away from civilization altogether, and really, really into the wilds. This is like that book. So, that's a big part of it as well.